Wake up. Wake up. Get up. Get up. Wake up. Wake up. Get up.
Welcome back to Redzone in the UK. I am Deuce. We got Christy. Christian. I said Christy. Oh gosh. Hey, look. It's 5:45.
Is that a Sunday name? Is that a Sunday name? Yeah.
I can be whoever you want, guys.
It's 5:30 over here in the States. Andy, good morning to you guys. How you guys doing this morning?
Yeah, man, I'm good. How are you doing?
Doing good, holding up. So it's been a few weeks since we've talked to each other. And since that time, so a few things have happened. Just a few things, right? One of those things was the firing of Jack Del Rio. Andy, talk to us.
Oh, it's about time, to be honest. I mean, I was happy when we saw the actual the firing of him, to be fair. The players didn't respond to him. I wanted him gone after the Bears game. I wanted him gone then. It was just, he's just been a horrible play caller, to be honest. And the scheme he has is just so kind of difficult to understand, but then doesn't actually produce anything on the field besides getting burned. That's all what happened. So I'm glad he's gone. No, I had a nice celebratory whiskey after that one. After I found out on Friday night, Friday afternoon for us here. Yeah, man. I mean, but I'm happy. I'm happy with that. But again, I'd love to see how it goes for today's game. Ron's got a hard one, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, and Christian, Ron talked about some things that he noticed that he didn't like, putting the guys in better positions to make plays, helping them to play faster. He also mentioned if you draw a guy, you keep that guy as far as the secondary is concerned, because we know there's a lot of handoffs and the scheme that Jack Del Rio was using and the communication was off. And that's the reason why a lot of the analysts that watch tape that do all that good stuff was saying that players was running butt naked open because of the communication and the complex of that defense. Along with the firing of Jack Del Rio, what do you think Rivera can do differently than what JDR did?
I think the problem with can you hear? Yep. So I think the problem with Rivera is he's so reactionary. That's been throughout the tenure, isn't it? We had our 4 first-round pick guys when we're down now to 2 on the defensive line. It's an interesting one for Rivera. I don't think I think he's gone at the end of the season, no matter what. He would have been seeing this, even if we just take it as 2023, he would have been seeing this lack of communication in the backfield all season. It's been there pretty much from from day one. What can he actually do? I don't know. He's a defensive-minded coach, isn't he? Rivera. Yeah, traditionally.
85 Bears linebacker and all that.
It's a move that makes sense for where we're at now. Del Rio going absolutely no problems with that. One thing I was surprised about, we kind of pride ourselves, don't we, if we do podcasts and blogs and stuff, that we know a little bit about Washington. I didn't really realize how sort of how inexperienced at a high level the backfield coach was. Is it Brent?
Yes,
yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think he came from I think he'd coached in the NFL before, probably with Del Rio.
He's been here since 2020, so he has been on the staff since they came in. He coached with Del Rio in 15 and 17 and also 2000. Yeah. But his recent stints was in
high school.
High school, wasn't it? High school.
School.
To be fair, I could probably coach in high school. Just see what I mean? Why have we got piss poor coaches at the NFL level? I just don't get it, man. He's got it as well. Chris Harris was a big loss. And then we replaced him with some guy who's got virtually no experience at Chris Harris's level. So, yeah, say Ron the GM, awful. Unfortunately, Ron the head coach, awful. And now we're going to see Ron the DC, awful. So Yeah, unfortunately, I mean, what can we do differently compared to what Del Rio was? As Ron's already mentioned about simplifying the defense a little bit, not making guys do extra checks in between kind of plays, and just letting them play a bit more freely. And I think that will make a difference, but I don't think it'd be good enough for this week. I tell you that.
The thing is, Andy, as well, it's like Del Rio was this bizarre mix of complex when it didn't need to be. And yet some of the stuff we done up front was extremely simplistic. You know, they could see it coming from a mile off. It's this real, you know, a marriage of both things being bad. You know,
I mean, Chase Young still got one actual pass rush move, and that's the bull rush. That's all he's got, and he still hasn't changed that over the past 4 years. Same as even at the Niners, he's still doing the same one move. So you know, it's like, what's going on with the coaching? You've got these high level talents, and you're not producing, getting the best out of them. You're not expanding their game to a different level. It's just not good, man.
And you kind of see the opposite, don't you, with someone like Micah Parsons in Dallas. You know how they move him around, what have you.
They've got a real head DC, haven't they? I mean, you know, Dan Quinn should be a head coach somewhere. That's how good Dan Quinn is. You know, so it's.
Where was he? Was he Atlanta? Did he go, Dan Quinn?
He did. He was at Atlanta for a while, wasn't he? And then there.
He was the HC there for a few years. So I don't think much is going to change. Honestly, I do think it'll be more movement. Like he also mentioned that he wants to put the D tackles in better positions to play more one-on-one. I've seen them in a lot of one-on-one. They're just not winning. So we'll see how he does that. Maybe these last couple games since they traded away Chase and Montez, the sole focus has been on them two from opposing teams. But when we had Montez and Chase here, they had a lot of one-on-ones and they wasn't winning. So this is going to be something interesting to see if he's able to do that. Now, look, on the flip side of it, if Ron is able to have some type of success with this defense these last 5 games somehow, a lot of people are worried he's going to be kept. No, because that still makes him an incompetent head coach, because if he's seen these issues all this time and he did absolutely nothing about it, that speaks to your leadership, right? That speaks to that. And to me, that's a reason for you to still get fired if that's the plans from Hogg at the end of the year. And maybe you get a DC job somewhere else next year if that's what your desire is. But I still don't see no way that this team, that Ron is here next year. No. I don't see it. But for the optimists, you could say, yeah, went out 5, sneak into the playoffs somehow, win a couple games, something like that, go on some, New York Giants type run in the playoffs. And, we can't see it. And usually you don't see it until it actually happens. But I don't see it happening at all.
I mean, I just hope that the players are actually going to respond more to Ron rather than Del Rio, because, Del Rio and EB were fighting on the, after the Dallas game, and
allegedly, right?
Allegedly, yeah. But obviously, them two are obviously not getting on, because obviously you're putting too much pressure on EB to get a point, because our defense can't stop anybody. Mm-hmm. So it's probably what EB probably got pissed off with and probably said something to him. Let's be honest here. EB sends to say what he thinks, which is a good thing, but also can be a bad thing as well. So, somebody had to go, and I was calling for Del Rio for a while, and he had to go because the players just stopped responding to him. To do things, and they weren't even trying. I mean, that was the last 2 games. You could say we tried in the first half against Dallas. You could say that. But the thing is that I genuinely believe that Dallas game, they were told not to blow us out in the first half because it was on national TV. I really do. So people wouldn't actually kind of leave and actually lose viewership. I really do. And then they went second half, kind of like fourth quarter, just go and do your thing, and that's what they did. They just absolutely hammered us in that fourth quarter.
They were unbelievably in control of Dallas,
like it was nothing. We did have no response. It was awful.
They were unbelievably in control. I mean, Prescott looked so assured. It was unbelievable. There was zero pressure on him. I mean, these are the guys who put some turkey, didn't they? They had turkey ready to go.
Yeah, that really pissed me off, that man, seeing that really annoyed me.
Yeah.
I was like, if I was on that team playing in that game and I saw that shit happening, I'd be going over swinging. I'm telling you now. Because that's total lack of respect, unbelievably.
That's total, that's total. And that was cool. Like I had us losing like 38-10, something like that. So I was cool. I was fine. But when they did that, I was hot. I was mad. That totally messed me up.
I mean, it's like Andy said, Juice. We were toe to toe more or less until the fourth quarter. Was it 25 points they gave up in the fourth quarter?
Yeah, that's when Dallas wanted to step up. That's all it was. They tried to keep it close. They probably Roger Goodell probably told them, "Hey boys, don't hammer them too early. Yeah. Just give them a chance. Make them think they've got a chance, and it's actually an even game. And then fourth quarter, just blow them away. Okay, yeah, and that's exactly what they did. Because we couldn't stop it because we're just not good enough.
Oh boy! All right. Scott says the only chink of light. Never heard that phrase either. That's two phrases today, or words I heard. Is that Miami give up the most points in the league from the red zone? So if we get there, we got the. I mean, I wonder what's our percentage because we don't score as much as we should. We get to the red zone a lot, and that costs us games also, especially against Buffalo. Always go back to that Buffalo game. We was in the red zone 3 times early in that game. So,
well, sometimes when I think red zone, do you think like that big-bodied receiver can be useful? And we don't really have one.
Yeah, but I mean, a lot of teams don't have big-bodied receiver and they still score. You have receivers that can win early. You just got to put them in position to do that. Jahan Dawson has showed you he can win early. He showed you he can be effective in the red zone. So has Terry, but you just got to put him in those positions to do so. I mean, you know, everybody's not Jay Gruden. We're not throwing fades all the time, right?
I was just having a phase memory there.
Every drive in here, it's almost fade.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about some history before we get some good history. You can go to Christian with the Dolphins and the Redskins. I don't think we didn't play them in Washington. Fools only had them 1 year. And this is the first game against the Commanders. But what does the history look like, Christian?
Yeah, okay. So I look back first. I always look back at our last game against them. And 2019, this was a real game for the ages. We had the 1-5 Washington Redskins, as they were then, playing the 0-5 Miami Dolphins. And Washington came out 17-16 winners. Must have been a real classic. Do you know who the quarterback for the Redskins was that game?
What year was it?
2019.
Butt Boy. Was it him?
Sanchez.
Sanchez.
I forgot that Mark Sanchez was called Butt Boy, and I thought you were just insulting me there, Juice. I was taking too long. Although,
fine.
Could just mean you got a nice butt. So no, it was actually the magnificent Case Keenum.
Oh, okay.
Case Keenum.
Yeah, Case Keenum.
That must have been earlier in the year then, right?
Yes, yeah. Overall record is 9-6 in favour of the Finns. But of course, our first ever Super Bowl, 1983, was against the Dolphins. So yeah, we got some happy memories against Miami, but I'm not so sure we're going to have a happy memory after today.
So, all right, Andy.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man.
He's thinking of some evil question here for me.
All right. Let's talk about the Dolphins. They are incredibly fast. They have 2 of the fastest receivers and probably the fastest running back as far as game speed. A-Chain or Aiken, however you want to do it, is slated to come back. And we see in the beginning of the year before he got injured, I mean, he was taking 40, 50, 60-yard runs to the house constantly, like consecutive games in a row. He'll be back. He is still kind of favoring, I think it's a hamstring or ankle.
He was on IR with
knee, something like that. Yeah, so he may be a little limited, but just having him on the field is also another dangerous weapon, and they also can run the ball with Mozart. And the defense is really starting to get into a groove. Jalen Ramsey's been back about 4 games. So to the keys, I mean, what are some keys to the game for a Commanders victory or Commanders non-blowout, whichever way we want to go?
I mean, to be fair, we have to play perfect football. To be fair, we have to be perfect, and we've not been able to do 4 solid quarters in a game all season. So we can't expect us to all of a sudden do that today. Yeah, I mean, you say no mistakes. Honestly, you've got to be perfect. Like it's impossible basically for our team with the talent level and the motivation level of our guys at this moment to go and beat this team. It's just not happening. I just cannot see in any way. I mean, Tua doesn't really give up too many turnovers because turnovers are always the biggest key. But we're just not going to be able to produce because we're not really going to have a great pass rush against him. And Tua is so fast with his release when he throws the ball. He's just so hard to get anyway. So, yeah, man. I mean, I'm struggling to find actually a real key to actually where we can think we can actually do this and we'll definitely win the game. There's so many things that. Everything's got to be perfect. Everything's got to be aligned perfectly. It's like God just made us win that game. That's how that's going to have to be. It's just awful. I'm feeling awful for this game today.
Yeah. What about you, Christian?
Yeah, it's like Andy says. I mean, the latest blog, I spoke to a guy who covers Miami for the Guardian here in the UK. Tua's getting that ball out so quickly, so accurately. So again, I don't really see turnovers, and that's the kind of thing you need if you are the underdog. You know, you're against a superior opponent, etc. They've got the elite run game as well. I did have a little look back, you know, always looking for like some silver linings. The Chargers ran the ball pretty well against Miami, but that was early doors in the season. They had 233 yards against Miami.
Oof.
That's decent. I think that might have been, you know, some initial struggles for Miami's defense. That's probably a bit of an outlier, but, you know, you cling to a bit of hope. I think we've got to run the ball. Now, I'll take a step back. I quite like what Bieniemy's doing. I'm not one of those straight away go on Twitter and say, we've got to have a balanced game. You know, Bieniemy's Bieniemy, and that's fine. But you've also got someone like Chubb, you know, coming off the edge. What's a way to take away that threat? You know, run the ball a little bit more. So I think, you know, I mean, Brian Robinson Jr. has been a good, overall pretty good running back for us this season.
Oh yeah.
I'd maybe like to see a bit more of Chris Rodriguez. I know he had a fumble, didn't he? Was it against Dallas or the week before?
Week before.
Sorry. You know, so like I say, I'd like to see more of the run game, which I know our blueprint for the future, if we do go with Bieniemy, is getting points, getting them quickly. But you've got to kind of keep Miami off the field, haven't you, as long as you can. I mean, this is a team that put up 70 versus Denver. Now, Denver had their struggles around that time as well, and they're playing a lot better now. But 70 points, I mean, that's worrying, isn't it?
Insane.
You know, I mean, have we checked out? I mean, sorry, Andy, but another thing I think is a key today in terms of the not being a blowout. I don't think we'll win, but not being a blowout is possible. Are the guys still checked in? Have they not checked out? You know, and maybe that's where Del Rio, at least being the defensive coach rather than Jack Del Rio, may help a little bit. I'm not sure we get blown out.
I do. I think we're going to get hammered. I mean, I mean, this is how bad it is. I've actually put a bet on that they're going to score more than 47 points. So, yeah. I mean, I just don't see. I mean, I see us having. You can have a reaction, as in Ron being in charge of the DC of the defense, but it won't be good enough to get against these guys. And McDaniel's just going to be going, yeah, you treated me like shit when I was here. I'm going to make you feel the pain today. And that's exactly what he's going to do. He won't be resting his guys at halftime because we're the 30-0 up or whatever it is. He's going to play them all the time, and he's going to kill us. It's as simple as that. He's going to make us a very painful day for all Washington fans.
Yeah. It's very, very possible. And when you think of the offense that he runs, it's kind of the same thing that we thought was going to be the offense here coming into the years. You know, rely on the defense, get the ball out quick, take your shots downfield, create some yak opportunities. But we really haven't seen a lot of that this year. I mean, we've seen it in spurts. We're starting to see it a little more these last few weeks, but then you can see some of the old habits kind of pop up. That's where a lot of the frustrations is coming. When you're talking to some fans about Eric Bieniemy is not putting Howell in the position to be his most effective. But for all the things that those of us and that believe Howell can be a starting quarterback in this league, the reason why a lot of us feel like that is because of the positions that Eric Bieniemy put him in to throw the ball, put the ball downfield. He has a high completion percentage, but a lot of the other things is really low. Bottom 20 in the league. He's either really, really good at something or really, really bad at the other thing. So it's how can you, balance that out a little bit more. And it just doesn't seem like EB is putting it all together. So, I mean, it's still 5 weeks left to see if they can really turn around and really see a difference in how on the metric analytic part of it, those small detail things. Because if this team is going full analytics, like most of us think, those are the things is going to matter more, and not so much that you lead the league in passing yards. Like spotlight players. We can start with you, Christian, from either team. What type of spotlight players do you have? Who are your spotlight players?
Yeah, I've got a couple for Washington. I think we're at the stage of the season where I want to see a little bit of experimentation as well, to a certain extent. I'm sure Rivera won't look at it like that at all, but from a pure fan's point of view and going forward. Interested to see Jamin Davis today. Obviously, a big role against the run. Obviously, I do see... with his speed, his athleticism, I would like to see him in more of a kind of Micah Parsons type role for Washington, trying to get to the quarterback. So I picked out Jamin Davis as being important today. Another guy, obviously coming off the edge, you've got Bradley Chubb. So how will Charles Leno hold up? It seems to be, I think Leno's perhaps not been quite as bad as some people think. I could be wrong here. I think there was even some praise from Bieniemy in one of his recent pressers. Maybe it's my mind playing tricks on me. But technically, Leno is probably a decent enough left tackle, for where we're at now. But so, yeah, I'd like to see how the tackles hold up. Wiley's, a bit of a worry as well. So, but my spotlight player for Washington, Jamin Davis this week.
Yeah, man, I've been saying that for a few games this year, just waiting. But I think when it comes to Jamin Davis, I think he can be a very no, he's not going to be that dominating linebacker, but I think he can be effective if he's put in the right situation. If he has a DC that comes in and say, you know what, I'm going to use what's best for you. Like the Ron Rivera, we're going to play to our speed. We're going to get faster. This is where I'm like, oh, okay, let's see.
He's ideal
if he's going to really try to get faster.
I'm thinking as well, Juice. I mean, I know he was a first rounder, but linebacker is a tough position, I think. It's one of the tougher positions, maybe like cornerback, to come into the league. We've seen that a bit with Forbes this season. And Davis has never had, another, dare I say, a better run organization. When you draft a linebacker, it'd be good if you had a really good head next to you as well. He's had veterans next to him, but they've not been great, have they?
No, I mean, and he brought in, I guess, remember he brought in Thomas Davis.
He was
remember
900.
And I don't even know if he even came to practice all the time. I don't even know how that whole shit worked out.
Yeah.
But that was supposed to be a guy that was supposed to kind of help him.
Yeah, but you want it on the field, You want it on the field. Yeah. You want the help. You want the help on the field, and I think, like a lot of guys in Washington over the years, he was put into perhaps too much was asked of him too soon. Because he was still a little bit of a project as well, wasn't he? I know he was a first rounder, but around that time they was really looking at athletic traits more than anything else, and coaching up, etc. So
that's the problem. The pressure that players get when they were first round pick. You expect to hit the ground running. You expect to hit the ground running and be able to be, at a good enough level that you don't get burnt all the time. He only had 1 year of experience beforehand at college as a starter.
I think he was a
So-
second rounder, Andy. You know, I think he might have been there when Washington was even picking in the second round.
Yeah, I mean, he might even have been there a third round because he hadn't really produced a lot really at college. He just as you say, you saw the athletic traits, but this guy's fast. He's side out of the sideline. He can do this and that, the other. But the thing is, it's like obviously in between the years, he's just not at that fast enough level to process things so quickly like the NFL, and especially when all the kind of changes and kind of fakery that you see from the offense, how they set up, and then all of a sudden it changes to something different during the play, and he obviously struggled to kind of pick up on that. And
I kind of feel as well that,
but our guys were just aren't good enough.
yeah. Do you think as well, like the particularly with Vera, maybe the front office in general, they kind of lock in on a guy in the draft? I felt like they'd done that a little bit with Forbes Jr. as well. You know, during the there's a few little media snippets, and all he was talking about was Forbes Jr. Forbes Jr. I think with Jermaine, maybe they just really locked in on him, and they were taking him no matter what. Which, okay, if you really believe in a guy, that's fine. But
yeah, I think he had a few snippets though. Like he probably had a few snippets of different players in the first round. You know,
true,
it's all
and that's the one they used.
TV. Yeah, it's all about TV because he's actually picked him. But Morning Hawk was good. Look at Kyle up early on a Sunday morning. All right, Andy, who do you have?
Spotlight player. I mean, I'm normally for the away team, aren't I? So I mean, it's so easy to go off all the main. I mean, you can pick
like 9 of them, right?
Yeah, I mean, I've got so many I could pick from. Like, I mean, to be fair, I'm just thinking like
that's right, so Andy. Black hoodie today, Andy.
It's so easy. I mean, but Tyreek obviously the easy one. He's going to go for over 200 yards today, very, very easily. I mean, the guy is on course for nearly a 2,000-yard season. I mean, this is insane from a receiver. So yeah, especially as Hawk mentions there against Saint Juiced. I call him Saint Ghost because he's just not there. You know what I mean? Like that's the problem with Saint Ghost.
Ghost crazy.
Man, yeah. I mean, it's what can you say about Tyreek Hill that no one's said before? The guy is electric. He knows what he's doing. He doesn't really drop too many catches. And they're just going to get the ball to him in any way they can. If they can't get it through the air, they'll get it across the ground, jet sweeps, or even just kind of very, very short passes, and let him take it to the house himself because he's just that quick that he can make it happen at any time. And I think McDaniel, that's what good coaches do. Good coaches get quality players the ball at every opportunity. And if you somehow stop Tyreek, then you can talk about Jalen Waddle. You can talk about these other guys. I mean, if you don't hit us from that angle, you hit us from the running game. Then you mentioned A-Chain before. Ridiculous electric. So is Mostert. I mean, he's just injured all the time. But there's so many options that you could choose for spotlight players for them. It's unreal. Yeah, man. I'm just I'm the
yeah, and their strength is literally our weakness, like middle of the field, crossing linebackers, getting yards. Oh my gosh, like it can be real nasty today.
It's gonna kill. They're gonna kill us, man.
Tua gets the ball out extremely fast because teams are so afraid of Waddle and Hill beating them deep that they give so much cushion that the short pass is just right there for the taking. And if Waddle or Hill have a lane, then that's pretty much it. You can pretty much say goodbye. And like Scott said, Saint Toast because he's always burnt. And
Ghost, there's a ghost. It's Ghost. You don't see him; he's not there. Saint Ghost.
I think we're forgetting though, guys. You talk about soft in the middle, etc. We've got the MVP, Cody Barton.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You'll see the real MVP today when Tyreek takes him, just burns him all day. So, I mean, yeah.
There's no reason he should be checking nowhere near that guy. Like, nowhere near. We should do zone because try to keep everything in front of us and don't be scared. So I don't know. It's and this is a game you need speed. Like, you need those speed guys, especially on defense. But I don't know. Our guys don't play fast, but that's what Ron said he's going to come in and change. So we'll see. And Hawk mentioned about like QB3 next year. It's early. Hawk, he can be. You get a whole new regime in here, and they might look at him as a QB3 and put him on the bench. I mean, you never know what's going to happen. You don't know what's going to happen with Fuller. Is they going to bring him back? They're going to get younger at the position. So
I think as well.
I think he's going to be caught. I think if he keeps getting burnt the way he is, I think he's going to get caught. Never mind CB3 for next year.
Do you think a little bit as well, though, guys? Obviously, we talked about the firings of Del Rio and the backfield coach. Is it Besselmeyer again? There's maybe a little bit of that at play as well. I've also with St. Just actually. I thought leading into it was the Seattle game. He had that run of about 3 really bad plays. Penalties, got burnt, like you say. Leading up to that point, he wasn't playing that bad this season. Whether there's a little mental aspect of it as well, I don't know. I haven't completely given up on him, but maybe today I should give up on St. Just.
It just hasn't been no. Yeah, we need to tackle better tackle. Yes, we have to tackle. Because most of the time, especially with these guys, even Aiken, I don't know, even 60%, he's probably still can take it to the house. You're probably only gonna get one opportunity to tackle them, and you got to make it count. This defense,
we've got to be perfect, and we've not seen it this season. We've not seen it, or we haven't seen it this season.
Yeah, we haven't seen consistency from no one. Like no player. And just like last week when after the Dallas game, we can all point fingers. Like wherever your stance is on pointing fingers of who's the reason why we're not successful, I have no argument against it because you're right. Like, and whoever's defending that is right too. Because it's not individuals, like it's everything, it's everyone, it's the offense, the defense, even our all-pro Trust Way has some real bad games this year, right? So it's like the whole team hasn't been consistent. You can blame whoever you want because ultimately the whole team, there's no one on this team that has been consistent week in and week out that I can count on.
Juice, you think part of that is like psychological as well? We talked about Rivera pretty much being a lame duck coach at the start.
It's coaching. A lot of these issues with our players is coaching. It has been coaching a long time, even with Jay Gruden. Like the whole thing about like the offense and being explosive, putting up points, this and that. But there was no discipline in that, right? There was no discipline. And then he was so afraid to bring in someone that had more experience than him on the defensive side that he kept bringing in lame duck DCs. There were opportunities for us to get better defensive coordinators, elite defensive coordinators, but because of his, pride or being afraid, and all of this stems from the previous owner. Like, let's just be honest. Because the DC comes in here like a Parcells or something like that. Defense looks good. Jay Gruden probably would have been out the next year. You know what I'm saying? Because of the impulsiveness of the previous owner. So, but it's been coaching. If we can get some good coaching in here, put players in positions to be successful, man. Like I think we have had talent on this team for years, but just bad coaching.
The thing is, as well, I mean, if you want to talk about coaches from previous years, I mean, look at I think it was, I can't remember what year it was now, but when we had McVay, Shanahan, McDaniels, who's going to take us on today, and we were 13-3 that year. So, it was it on coaching? Was it on talent at that time? But this year and the last few years, has definitely been on coaching. I think there's been a lot more talent in certain positions in this team than were better than those teams with those coaches, and it's still not getting any better, and that's the killer for us, It's painful, man. It's painful.
And even then, like even the coaches, the talent, and like they wasn't able to pick their own players, right? Like day 1, day 2. Those picks had to be approved in the sense from upstairs, right? So
yeah, that's true.
And that's the bad thing about having an owner like that. So, all right. Sheesh. I think we kind of talked about a lot about key matchups. You know,
what do you think more about what we're going to do in this year's draft?
I saw a question just come up actually, Andy, about would you potentially trade Terry McLaurin for picks, given his age, I guess, given his salary? I'll tell you what, yeah, I mean, that's going to be where, as fans going into like new general manager, new era potentially, expect the unexpected. Anything could happen, particularly when they're looking at this from a more cold business analytical point of view. And if there are good wide receivers in this draft, and we know there's a potential absolute guarantee stud in Harrison Jr., then yeah, everything's on the table. It'll be a real shame to see McLaurin leave Washington, though. But I'm trying not to...
Everything's on the table, I think.
Everything's on the table.
On the table. It just depends how good the compensation is for the picks wise. If it isn't good enough, they're not going anywhere. Simple as that. If it's good enough, then they're going to get accepted and they're gone. You know, so just nature of the business, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I love to think McLaurin. You know, I'm tired of buying jerseys of people who leave the year after. So, so I thought, oh, McLaurin, I'm safe with McLaurin. He's going to be here 4 or 5 years, and he might not be. So we'll have to see how that goes. But
Andy, I once had a Trey Quinn jersey.
Oh wow.
God, Trey Quinn.
I just wonder if I might be the only Washington Commander fan that bought a Trey Quinn jersey.
Wow. I mean, you know, he was Mr. Relevant, right? Or
that's right, yeah, Mr. Irrelevant. Yeah.
Irrelevant. Yeah, irrelevant. Yeah. So yeah, when it comes to the off season, it's really kind of hard to tell. You know, I think like people talk like we talk about rebuild, but and I don't think those moves was about rebuild either. When you're rebuilding, you're trading away players that's under contract, right? We haven't done that yet. The off season, yes, maybe, but we're pretty much in like the second year of a rebuild, really. Because when you go into the off season, you have what, 3 contracts, maybe? Allen, Payne, and Terry. Like that's, I mean, like how much more rebuilding do you need? And then you have tons of cap space. You have tons of empty roster spots. You're going to have 5 or so picks in the top 100 or so. So you're already there. So it's like we're looking to say, okay, let's trade Terry. And no, like you're literally in a rebuild. You can't trade away all of your players and say, hey, I'm starting completely from zero. Right. You can't get rid of all of your contracts because then you're putting yourself in a hole with penalties and stuff down the line. And you also need foundational pieces, right? And this team is trying to rebuild the fan base. They're trying to get a stadium. They're trying to do all of these good things. They're trying to, you know, reestablish these relationships with the business side. And you need foundation pieces. You need pieces that the public look at in high regards. And that's Terry, right? Like Terry is that person that you can take into those rooms. It's kind of, hey, look, here's Terry McLaurin. And people love him. The city loves him. The people love him. Good guy, charity, all these different types of things. You need these type of things when you're foundational pieces, especially in the position that we're in. And sometimes some things is more important than a draft pick. And I think Terry McLaurin is more important than a draft pick overall moving forward for this franchise. That's why I don't think I don't think he goes anywhere. Because like anytime we see the owners and different this and that, who's there? Terry and John Allen. Like they're the guys that's always there. And no, they might not be the best and top 10, whatever, elite or whatever, but they're still good players and they could be good foundational pieces and they don't cost like $40-50 million.
Do you think as well that Terry's maybe been playing a little injured this season?
I mean, yeah, turf toe thingy jiggy and that can linger.
Yeah,
but
you've been at the gate, you've been there, Juice. Has he passed the eye test? Does he look as good as ever with the eye test when you're at FedEx?
It's really hard to say, man. Like this offense is based off the route next to you, right? So it's all about playing off of each other. So if Terry and let's say Logan Thomas has a route combination together, Terry can't outrun the combination because of the fact that they're meant to feed off of each other, right? So he can't go his full speed because he's so much faster than Logan Thomas. That this is why a lot of times you see players in the same spot most of the time, right? Like when we see it's like, why are they so close together? It's because of these route combinations and these route relationships that EB has. That's why they say this offense is so like complicated and different things got to dial it back. It's because like that's the thing of this offense, and this is probably why we're starting to hear smoke coming from from inside the building as far as like Eric Bieniemy players not going to vouch for him, this and that, because he's not putting them in good positions to be successful. Like where's the route combinations we saw in preseason and at OTAs, putting Terry on linebackers, Jahan on linebackers in the slot, pre-snap motions. Like we don't see any of that anymore. We don't see Samuel and jet motions or anything like pre-snap. So it's a lot to kind of consider. And sometimes those guys be running wide open down the field too. And how it goes through his progressions, but I don't think he trusts them, and he's not consistently going through his progressions. And we see that on tape after the game. That there's been times Jahan running wide open down the field, Terry running wide open. Or if he has another half second of protection, this is opening up, and all different types of things. So I don't know. I'm not ready to give up on Terry, not because what has something to do with what he's done for this city, but he's also still effective. Like we've seen it this year. And if people don't have it, you're not going to see it. So I think it's a multitude of things. But that's my Terry rant for the day.
Yeah, let me say no. Obviously, everyone loves Terry. We know how good he is. It's just a case of, analytically, as Christian mentioned, analytically, if he suddenly gives you 2 first rounders for him, then he goes. You see what I mean? So
yeah, but you ain't getting no 2 first rounders.
Well, yeah, I mean, but you never know. Someone might come in and do that. So you don't know what's going to be offered at some point. But I'm just trying to say that something could be anything's on the table if the compensation's good enough. So. But yeah,
because if we are willing to just trade away Terry, like just trade him away, then teams is not going to come in here with no first round anything. Because why are we just trying to give him away, right? Like,
yeah, true.
Players like teams like Sweat, for instance, they knew we really didn't want to get rid of Sweat. We wanted to get rid of Chase. We were still seeing what people would pay for him. The Bears came out of nowhere with a high second round. People like, oh yeah, we'll take that. Not because we wanted to, but it's because of the compensation that we got, because we really wanted to keep him, right? So that's the thing. If somebody come in with a high second for Terry or first, maybe so. But I know there has to be some sort of a line that I'm not giving Terry away for no 3rd round pick or no 4th.
Oh yeah, hell yeah, it's
because the relationships that we need to build for this stadium and this fan base moving forward means more than the 2nd or 3rd round pick, or whatever the case. Because it's analytics, right? As fans, we want the best players regardless. We just want to win. But in our situation is a unique situation, and you still need foundational pieces. And people talk about the Eagles. I mean, look, Fletcher Cox, Kelsey, like them guys been there for years and with high contracts. I think last year Fletcher had like 14, 15, 16 mil, something like that. And he hardly even played because he's a foundational piece, how much he means to the city. Not because he's this great player. Why do you think they went D-tackle these last few years? You know what I mean? So, I mean, he's playing way better this year. Well, the beginning of the first half of the season anyhow. But you still need those foundational pieces. So, a lot of say we need a rebuild. We're already in a rebuild phase. You just have 3 players under contract in a sense, like big money players that's not on rookie deals. This is equivalent to a rebuild. Most rebuilds that tear it down, like they have multiple players on high contracts or whatever, and they just trying to scale it all the way back, take cap hits for the next year or two, and then start building from there. But we don't have to do that because everyone is already. It's pretty much.
I think, and we probably don't look at it. It's that's a really good point, Juice, and perhaps we don't look at it as a rebuild because we've got a 4th-year head coach. So in our minds, we're not thinking rebuild when that's exactly what's happening, isn't it?
Exactly.
I still think there's some guys who are, it's probably some of our rookie guys we're still going to be leaning on next year as well. We mentioned Brian Robinson Jr., maybe Rodriguez as well. Could be a good piece. We've got Jahan Dotson. I believe that's still rookie contracts, isn't it?
Rookie still, on the rookie deals. So.
Yeah. So one thing I would say though, you mentioned about the Eagles and their sort of corner pieces that they kept with, but they did go and get AJ Brown, didn't they, and drafted Devontae Smith. So keeping fresh at that wide receiver position is a must, I say.
Yeah, and did in the same offseason. That's what we had. We have big money to make a big splash if we want to receive a contract if that's what they choose to do, and we got picks to draft.
What would you do with our number 1 pick? Because our pick, realistically, our first round is going to be top 5, top 6 pick more than likely. So what would you what would be your game right now to go for? What kind of player or
I mean, I don't know. Like, I'm not all in the the mocks and all that yet. Like, I'd like to see exactly where we're going to be.
Yeah.
But if it did end the day, like it just depends how the ball falls. But the tackle has to be addressed. And I know, you have Marvin Harrison. A lot of people want, but I think he's going to be like top 3 for sure. Olu. A lot of people talking about Brock Bowers, but I don't need no tight end in the first round, especially that high. So yeah, I'm looking to establish these trenches, right? Like we have to. It's not sexy, especially when you have all these sexy picks around it. But look at the Seahawks. They got their left tackle and right tackle in the same draft, first round and third round, right? And they kind of set. They're able to have somebody like Geno back there last year just dialing up and have this resurgence, which I knew was just a 1 year off, one hit wonder, but that's a whole different topic. But still, like you can do some things with that. And if you really believe in how, then that's what you want to do. You want to be able to do those things. So
I think left. I mean, left tackle. I mean, as the fashionable guy being touted, isn't there? And a cornerstone left tackle under a rookie contract who's only 20. That's going to be extremely tempting.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm always give me Joe Alt. To be fair, give me Alt. He's
I mean, all 2 Notre Dame. Like whoever, either one of those guys. Like whatever. Just go ahead.
Just don't play down. Just don't do it. I know there'll be quarterbacks out there that people want, and the only scary thing is the new GM, new management system team. When that comes in, are they in on Howell or are they not? And then they might have to go QB at that position. That's why I was trying to get your read on it, really, and because there's so many different. There's so many different variables that could happen for this off season. It's unreal. So,
Andy, we said everything on the table, and I think that's the quote. That's the phrase.
Yeah, everything is on the table.
Everything's on the table. Even QB. If you're picking in the top 5, just through due diligence, you have to look at all
the guys coming out.
And whatever they decide to do, I'm cool. Like I'm not judging this because like this season is still under the old guy. I don't care what nobody say. Like this team, this season is still under the old guy. When a new season starts, like January 8th or whatever for us, this is where I'm gonna start judging Hawk from that point on. Nothing this year is on them. They don't want to foul Ron, whatever. No, that's not on them. Like you can't do that. Like you can't take 30 years of frustration and being okay with it and being upset with it to all of a sudden be mad at somebody for not doing something in 3 months, right? You still have unfinished business with that past relationship that you need to work out. So your whole relationship that you had with the old regime, you need to figure that out and get over that. And then when the next person comes, for you to put all that negative energy on them. So that's kind of where I am, especially with this new regime.
I was thinking as well. I mean, there's so many unanswered questions. Like we spoke a little bit about the enemy, okay, and the complexity of the scheme. But you got to think as well. The only guy that he had a say on, who's the guy he brought from Kansas City? Is it Pringle?
Yeah, Pringle.
Well,
Yeah. So none of those wide receivers are for his scheme. I know that you've got Terry. Certainly top 15 wide receiver. You'd think Jahan Dotson, first round pick. Curtis Samuel, who I'd be tempted to pay, by the way, if it's an agreeable amount of cap. I worry a little bit about this. I mean, I'd like to know where the enemy sort of slight grumbles are coming from. Is it coming from the wide receiver core? Because I don't know, I haven't got that much sympathy with the players, if I'm being honest.
I don't know, man. It just kind of depends, and you can't, like, people say, "Oh, they soft, get them off my team." Hey, look, man, like, you can't. Just the thing that's going on in New York with the blue people, like, you yelling and screaming and cussing out everybody, but you're not winning.
Yeah.
Right. This is the NFL. These are grown men. This is not the 80s. This is not the 90s. These guys is making money. Right. So it comes with success. Like, you can yell at me if you're successful. Right. But if you're not successful, you're not going to just be yelling at me.
And a degree of immaturity as well, Juice. There's a degree of immaturity,
Yeah, but I mean, still, like, these are still grown men, right? These are younger players, but they're still grown men. Like, you can't, like, this is 2023. You can't just come in and you're like, yeah, I'm totally old school. You idiots need to run this play right, or you this. Like, at some point, everyone has, like, because that's how we're. I mean, speaking for me too, like, I still came from that attitude era, whatever, from coaches that grab your face mask and do all that other stuff. But players like after me, they don't know any of that, because none of that stuff was allowed, right? And they've been successful all their life by coaches not doing this. Like, there's not a lot of coaches that do this. I mean, you come from Ohio State, of course, that guy just does some crazy stuff. That's why I know it's not Terry. There's no way it's Terry. No way at all. For all the stuff that he went through at OSU, no way. But, like, a lot of these players come from different programs that don't do this, but they're successful. So, and that's the thing about EB in the offseason. People was like, all right, yeah, it's working now because ain't no games being played. It's working now. You're 2-0. But you get to a point, you get on a 5-game losing streak and you yelling at people, but you're not yelling at yourself, then that's the issue. Like, is he taking ownership for his shortcomings? Like, they need to see accountability too. You know what I mean?
And man management, that's the key as well. Some people can handle being shouted at all the time. Some people can't. Sometimes you've got to stroke their egos a little bit, or arm around their shoulder and, whisper sweet nothings in their ears, you know what I mean, to try and keep them motivated or to keep the confidence high or whatever it is. But some people's confidence is brittle. If you're continually on at them all the time, for every single minor mistake that they do, say, even in practice, never mind in the games, eventually it's going to get to you where you're going to start losing confidence. You start getting worse for it. And I think Dotson's one of those guys. I really do. I think Dotson this year, you could say, well, it's a sophomore slump. Yeah, it could be. But the thing is that he's dropping passes. He's doing things that he would never, ever do in his career. Like, this guy was solid, like hands of glue. Do you know what I mean? And he's dropping balls that he would never drop in his career. I think that's a confidence thing. I really do. I think he's losing confidence because of EB's continually at him. That's what I think. He's one of them guys you've got to get your arm around your shoulder and say, yeah, look, you're the best around, blah, 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 blah. And they're not doing that. And
do you know what is
EB, old school, costing him.
Do you remember as well? I remember Rivera said at the start of the season that part of him hiring the enemy was to do something different. And I don't think that was just about the playbook and the new system. I think it was being up their arse a little bit. He was kind of like, it's year 4, we're still not winning. Let's try something different. Again, reactive Rivera, isn't it? I mean, you compare it to say,
it's always too late with the reactions. That's the problem.
That's right. Yeah, it's reactive.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And you see the likes of, I mean, you mentioned, more players, coaches. You see Mike McDaniel, you see Sean McVay, don't you? And there seems to be a real kind of, I mean, maybe because, I mean, also they're very young, aren't they?
Well, yeah, but they
some of these guys are not much older than the players,
Yeah, they can connect better with the players.
They can connect better. Yeah.
But they also respect them too, right? Like
Yeah.
this is a thing about like, can EB or does EB have compassion, right? Because they say he did, right? He'll get on you, and he'll also be the first person to back you and the first person to defend you. And if that type of balance is still there behind the scenes, like, I don't care what he tell us. You can tell us anything, but is it the same? Like, is he getting on John? Look, you need to run this route better. You blah 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 blah. But look, I know you can do it. We're going to work on it. We're going to make sure you get it done. Like, there has to be some sort of a balance, especially with young players that's been successful. You know, I've ran this route successfully this way all my life, and now you're telling me to run it this way. All right, no problem. I'm trying, but I need some time to get it there. But you're getting upset with me or yelling at me for me trying something new. This is something new to me, so it has to be time. So I mean, but again, we don't know exactly what's happening. So
and
this
also,
is just,
I mean, take a step back. I mean, you've got a Hall of Fame coach, or will be, in Andy Reid at Kansas. Would he have a guy like Bieniemy even on the staff if he was some terrible dude? I don't think he would. I know Andy Reid was probably, calling a lot of those plays, etc. But I don't think he'd even want someone in Kansas City if he couldn't, corral people, get people together. So I'm just a little bit skeptical about some of the criticism. Or
it's probably good cop, bad cop over there when he was there, to be fair.
Yeah. And Andy probably
handing down the kind of like punishments and Reid's the nice guy, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
we just don't have the Andy Reid here.
It's the balance. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
he probably ain't let him run wild and go crazy. We saw a couple things with him and Mahomes on the sideline, stuff like that. But Ron just standing around with his arms folded. So they probably frustrated with him because he ain't doing or saying nothing when he see things is not right. He even admitted on the defensive side how he sees things that we should have been doing that we haven't been doing. So you're telling me that what we're saying is true. You see things that needs to be corrected or needs to be addressed, but you're not saying or doing anything.
And why is that? Is that just a loyalty thing to Jack and all those things?
Of course.
Yeah? Of course. You surely got to get. I mean, even if that was the case, even if you were loyal to Jack, you still got to get him in a room and say, "Look, man, I'm seeing all these different things that you're not seeing."
And remember in the off season, he said that he's going to be more involved in the defense. Remember that in the off season when we hired EB?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and
so,
not seeing.
I don't know what that happened.
He was assistant head coach. I think his title was assistant head coach.
He's
offensive.
He's assistant head coach, but still, you're the head coach, so you still like the assistant title doesn't come into play really unless the HC is unavailable.
Which, thinking again with Rivera, I mean, I think Washington is a difficult job. When he was hired, but it's difficult in a different way. Like if you went to, you go to Miami or you go to, who's been a more sort of storied franchise, next Kansas City Chiefs. The expectation is to win. I think Rivera's big thing when he came in was about this culture change, etc. I don't think all the focus was on winning. It was almost on changing what was a really bad culture throughout the building. Mm-hmm. And I think that's why we haven't got this proactive win-win-win coach. And hopefully, going forward, a good GM hire. I mean, for example, we keep talking about a general manager. That at the moment is Mayhew, isn't it? You said about Benjamin St. Ghost, but he's like the ghost GM. I just forget about him. I always think it's almost unfair to a certain extent, but I forget about Mayhew.
These guys are getting paid for doing nothing, as in like actually doing just a really bad job of player personnel and also coaching personnel. I just think, as you mentioned before, Visselmeyer, I mean, what's he about? Just because he's a friend with Del Rio over a couple of years ago.
And at that height,
he can't just be good friends with some powerful guys. You know what I
mean?
And
that's still on Rivera. Every single hire is on Rivera. Because ultimately,
he's with one, to be fair. It really is.
Yeah. We went with the coach-centric sort of way of planning a roster. Every single decision here ultimately is Rivera.
Yeah, because he's part of GM as well, isn't he? He tries to play both hats, doesn't he? He's got all power. That's why the coach-centric role doesn't really work that well. That's why I don't see a Jim Harbaugh coming here, because he'd want the same kind of thing what Ron's doing. He'd want the whole total control of it, and I don't think the new GM or the new ownership will allow that. So I don't think he's coming. No,
they're going to go for the hotshot GM, whoever that may be. I guess it might be someone who's an assistant GM elsewhere.
Yeah, give me Ian Cunningham from the Bears. He's a really good assistant GM and doing some good things over there. I'd have him right now.
Oh no, they also just traded for Montez Sweat, gave him $100 million.
Is that on him or is that on the overall head GM? You know what I mean? But to be fair, Montez is producing since he's got there already. So. I don't know. Maybe he's money. Who knows?
All right, we better get out of here. Dog Tide loves Fuaga. I think that's how you pronounce his name.
Oh.
Right tackle that has potential to be a left tackle, but he's definitely dominant. He's definitely dominant. But like I said, I think this draft has a lot of tackles. Like I said, like if they don't decide to go tackle with the first pick, all right, cool. But address it with the next one. Like, come on now. Like,
don't mess around.
If you move back in the first or whatever, there are a lot of this draft is really deep. This is the last quote unquote COVID year with a lot of players sat out a year, transferred, because I think right before COVID, the transfer portal, the rule wasn't established until the year after. So you still have some players like in that hole for a year. Players took a year off and all those type of things. So this draft is really deep. Outside of like edge rushers, there's not a ton. I think it's kind of top heavy with a couple. And that's probably why the Bears made the move that they made for Young, because there's probably no edge rushers you're going to get at the top of the second this year. But I mean,
when you're looking at kind of offensive linemen, and I think one of the questions was about where do you see Braden Daniels playing? I mean, I don't think you're going to see him play at all, and if you do, it'll be at guard at the very, very best. And I just don't see this guy making the cut.
Was he a fourth round flyer, wasn't it?
So you expect some sort of at least some playing time from him this year.
Well, he's definitely going to be here.
You put him on IR.
Yeah, he's going to be IR.
There was no real injury. Do you know what I mean? His season ending. What's that tell you? You didn't want to cut him. He wasn't good enough to be playing.
Yeah, he probably had a fake injury type thing.
Yeah. Headache off of the season. You know what I mean? Yeah, man. I don't know.
Yeah, we need to go tackle.
we need to tackle, man. That's what I'm all in on that. I just
I got us losing 39-6. Where you at, Andy?
Oh, me. I genuinely believe we're going to be.
We're going to let Kristen go last.
Sorry, mate. Yeah, I'm going to past 50. I think they're going to get 50, 52, 12. That's what I think we're going to get.
Yeah,
4 field goals. We're even going to get a touchdown, mate.
Super Bowl numbers. What you got, Christian?
I was like I said, I had a blog yesterday with a Miami sort of guy. He saw it as maybe as a trap game, and I was like, I'm not having any of that. This is no trap game. I think they keep it tightish the first quarter. I think we'll come out okay. But I've got Miami as 31-7, and I think there might be a few questions again about quarterback after this. I could see us throwing a few interceptions, so that's going to be great, isn't it? When the quarterback discussion rumbles on.
Oh, gosh. But he's due for one of them games, though. He's due for one of them games where he puts up some good numbers. So,
yeah, or the 4 interception game. Yeah,
yeah. He had the 4, did really, really great. Then he had the 3, did so. This is it's time for him to bounce back.
Hopefully. I hope they prove me wrong. I hope they go there and just dominate. But it's highly unlikely to see it.
Highly unlikely.
if nothing else, Juice, as you're going to FedEx, maybe have a few brandies. Is it?
Hey, look, it's raining. I mean, it's raining now. It's supposed to stop, but hey, the rain is on our side.
What's the temperature in Washington?
Not with Gibson in the middle of, not with him there.
Juice, what's the weather like in terms of temperature?
51. So that's pretty good. It's supposed to get up to 60. So it's not too
Me and
close.
Andy just going, yeah, what's that in
Yeah, I'm trying to work it out and see. Yeah,
in centigrade? Yeah. Cold.
2 touchdowns, a slash shank. Yeah, he's good.
yeah, he's good as well. He can go at the end of the season.
Yeah, Joey Slide. I mean, he cut Hopkins with no idea, didn't he? That was another great Rivera move.
Yeah, he was inconsistent too. So we definitely gonna have a new kicker next year. As long as we're on draft one, we do not need to draft the kicker.
no one shit. The analytics, they'll probably go kick a second round or something like that.
Yeah. That's
What's the highest?
Aguayo didn't work out. Remember him? Roberto Aguayo.
Crazy.
For Tampa.
Where was he taken? Was he taken high in the draft?
Second round, mate. He was taken second round, and he was he was awful. Got caught after about.
Yeah, that was a terrible pick. All right, yes. So thank you all for joining. Thank you for listening. Everyone that got up early with us in the States, and all of you over in the UK. We also want to try to. We have about 5-6 more weeks left, in the season. So we definitely appreciate y'all. Yeah, we traded for a long snapper. Oh my gosh. and he's bad. He is terrible. He is terrible.
If it wasn't for Tress Way, he was holding. Tell you, mate, it'd be hell of a lot more highlighted how bad Cheeseman is.
Gosh. But enjoy your Sunday. Enjoy the game. Watch it all the way through, which you probably won't, but you never know.
I
Again,
will.
Appreciate you for joining us, watching and listening, getting up with us on the early morning. This is Redzone in the UK. Enjoy your day. Peace.